Hello my beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about a topic that I feel like isn't talked about enough. However, it's really important. It kind of shapes our everyday life and the person who we become. And the topic is friendships and the value of friendships and how the people closest to us shape us and how to find the right people, how to even identify the right people. And as I've mentioned, I have 7 learnings that I have learned over the course of my life, especially in the last year. I had a few awakenings concerning the topic of friendships, and that is what I'm gonna tell you about a little bit today. In that first school, I had my 2 best friends. It was mostly it was one best friend, but we were a trio, and we had the best time. We had a blast. We were always together, and sometimes I was playing with other kids too. So I was a pretty social kid. I didn't have much trouble being shy or anything. That wasn't a big deal for me. Then I changed schools. I came into high school basically. In Germany it's Gymnasium. And there some things changed and shifted. I still found friendships pretty quickly, but I had a really small circle of people. And eventually over time that circle grew a lot more until I didn't feel like I was really part of the group. I always felt a bit like an outsider and I felt sorry for myself. I didn't really value friendships as much because I always had my ballet classes and I was running there, and then after I stopped going to ballet, I just never invested in friendships a lot. I never actually learned it because I never had time, and after I started having time, I just didn't take the time to actually invest in friendships, to get to know the people, to grow the connection, to make it stronger. I didn't do it, and today I know better. Today I know better. After skipping one grade or one class, after skipping 11th grade and getting into 12th, obviously my entire classmates changed because I got into a completely new grade that was so new to me. And that was when things started really changing and taking a turn for me. And here we will start with our first lesson, which is that you have to stop self-pitying yourself and feeling sorry for yourself. Like, for real. That was something I was doing for a really, really long time. I was always saying like, okay, I'm just not social and I can't really be around people. I'm just not a people person. I just don't like people as much as the other people do, and people don't get me and I don't get them. And that was problematic because I was always distancing myself and isolating myself from everyone and basically drowning in self-pity. And that is just not it. You shouldn't do that. It doesn't feel good. And once you come out of it, once you get out of that hole, you notice how stupid that was where you have been in. And I'm not talking about you, but it's my personal experience. So yeah, I started actually believing that maybe people really do like me for the person that I am. Maybe I don't need to change completely in order to fit in. Maybe the feeling that I never really fit in didn't have to do anything with me, but it only had to do with the fact that I didn't invest in my friendships, that I didn't even give people a chance to get to know me, that I didn't even give people a chance to really bond with me or get close to me. I was always keeping a safe distance to not get hurt, to have enough time for myself, to not have to give too much from my free time away. And yeah, once I stopped feeling sorry for myself and saying, okay, but I'm such an introvert, I just can't with people. Once I stopped doing that, things have changed. And I'm still an introvert, don't get me wrong. I'm not the person who runs towards the crowd and starts introducing herself. That's not me. I'm usually waiting for someone to approach me, which I'm working on, by the way. But I stopped believing that people have something against me and that I am just not worthy of friendship and all that stuff. It's just not... It's not right. You are worthy of friendship and you are worthy of meeting the right people, which is what leads us to the next point, and that is that you have to get out there, okay? Because finding the right people takes time and you find it in places you wouldn't expect. Putting yourself out there means that you actually start approaching people, or that you at least don't sit in your room after school all the time, but maybe go for, I don't know, for a walk, or join a dance club, or join any sort of club. I feel like sports clubs are really amazing to find new friendships. Also, if you have a local church, try to find people your age there. People at church are usually really, really nice and open-minded, and they should accept you as you are. Obviously, they will call you out on certain things, but most of them are really kind people. Obviously, it depends on the kind of church, but from my experience, people at church have always been nothing but kind to me. So yeah, get out there, try to find clubs and groups, maybe form a study group or join a running club if you enjoy running and connect with people there. Just actively try to find the connection, because people usually won't come up to you. You have to come up to them, because nobody really cares about their surrounding, especially if they already have enough social interactions and enough friendships. They usually won't come up to you. Sometimes they will, and I'm hyper grateful for everyone who is approaching me, because it saves me the stress of approaching people myself. But usually it's not the case, so don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't worry about what other people will think. If they won't accept you, if they will find you weird, they're not the right people for you. They're not. And that is the next thing. The right people, they will accept you and get you, and they won't drain your social battery. For the longest time, I was surrounded by certain people, not every of them, who were really nice people and kind people, but they drained my social battery, because I was fighting for my life to find a common ground with them. I was really trying so hard to find topics to talk about and conversations to engage on, because I just had no idea what they were really interested in, or we didn't really have similar interests. And sometimes opposites attract. That is something that everybody is kind of saying, but sometimes opposites are just too different to form a working friendship. So find people who engage in the same hobbies as you, or who have the same goals as you, or who have at least one interest in common with you. I enjoy reading, for example, and I love talking with people who read books. I I share my favorite books. I get in feedback about those books um, if I ever lend it to those people. Sometimes I don't know, I talk about their favorite books or about book recommendations, like basically a little bit of book talk or bookstagram, stuff like that, just in real life. Then what else is there? Well, another learning that I have learned, I think we're at number 4 already, is that finding the right people takes time, and you find them in places that you wouldn't expect. Sometimes, like the greatest friendships that I have found, they formed in places that I wasn't even looking for friendships, or they happened, for example, at school with people who I would have never talked to. And suddenly I'm in a conversation with them, and then we meet up, and then we realize that we have real similar interests, and then we realize that we can push each other and help each other reach certain goals, and suddenly I'm so close to that person, and I never would have thought, I would never have guessed that this specific person would ever get this close to me. So yeah, that is the next learning. Yeah, have you ever heard about the saying, show me the 5 people closest to you and I will tell you who you are? It is true. It is absolutely correct. Maybe not the 5 people, I don't know if that number is scientifically proven or anything, but it is true that the people who surround you and your surrounding in general, your social circle, it shapes you in every shape and form. It shapes you so much that when I got out of certain friendships and got into new friendships, suddenly reaching my goals became so much easier. And suddenly my mood was a lot lighter around those people. And suddenly they weren't draining my energy anymore. And suddenly I was able to push them and they were able to push me. And we were holding each other accountable. I feel like that is such a cool way of friendship. Just telling each other our goals and then working on them together and giving each other updates on these goals and just working together, having fun together at the same time, because fun, why do we forget about fun in friendships? Friendships are there to be weird and have fun and be nonchalant. What is the opposite. Being chalant. Don't be nonchalant. We do not want this. We don't want nonchalant. We want chalant. We want real. We want human. When did it become uncool to express your emotions and let out the weird side of you? Once you have found the people who accept you the way you are, you will change. You will most likely change completely as a person. Because I realize and I notice it for myself, once I get closer to people, suddenly I start acting so weird. Like I start singing around them, for example, or making weird, silly little dances. The stuff that I do in my room on my own. Stuff that I'm kind of embarrassed to do in front of people. But once I realized, okay, that person actually thinks that I'm a cool person, so maybe I can do weird things around that person. And it's so cool. And it's so much fun. It's so much more fun than pretending and trying to be a different person that you're not. And all these inner conflicts that are rubbing against each other all the time when you are not being your most true authentic self. So find the people who don't run away from you once you start becoming more open and becoming more of the person who you are when nobody's watching. And yeah, as I said, choose the people who push you, who don't choose the comfortable people. Comfortable people are amazing, but it's even more amazing when you have both things, which means that you can be comfortable around that person and enjoy the silence and just sitting there in silence and not saying anything and being completely okay with that, not having to force a conversation, but at the same time talk about the deepest stuff and talk about, I don't know, past struggles and the biggest fears, and then also push each other and call each other out. That is my point number 6. True friendship means calling each other out sometime. It doesn't mean that you have to be super mean to each other or criticize each other. We want constructive criticism within friendships. Because I feel like a not so close friend or a friend who doesn't mean it well with you won't say, oh, listen, your makeup looks kind of off today. I think a true friend would tell you, I'm sorry, you have mascara everywhere. Whereas maybe a person who isn't so comfortable telling you the truth just won't tell you, and you will run around with your ruined makeup or whatnot. It could be a stain on your shirt. It could be something about your behavior. Maybe you are toxic in certain areas and your friend isn't afraid of calling you out on that and telling you, okay, maybe you have to overthink your behavior once again, and maybe you have to change certain aspects about the way you act because that is not okay. Yeah, I love that dynamic. I love it when you don't automatically get defensive and get offended because someone just told you something that you should maybe change or look in once again. It's really important. Okay, and then the last point, I actually have to look it up, but there's this study that showed that human connection basically is the opposite to addiction. Because the second you are alone and lonely and you don't have that social network around you, suddenly you're all on your own. And that is the moment when many people fall into addictions of any kind. It could be a phone addiction, it could be food addiction, it could be addiction to certain substances. I'm gonna look it up real quick. I will come back in a sec. Okay, let me see. Okay, here, I found it. There are several papers on this and several studies on that topic. The video that I was referring to before was on a rat study that showed how rats in a socially active environment didn't drink much of the drugged water, whereas rats who were alone were basically became addicted to the drugged water that was given to them. And that showed that connection, and when you have a social circle around you, it is much less likely that you will fall into addictive behaviors. The study Human Connection as a Treatment for Addiction says that social connection is important in both humans and animals, and humans having a cohesive support or social network system and healthy attachments in childhood predict low risk of later addiction. So healthy relationships lower the risk of later addiction. As does perceived support from a religious or other communities. Moreover, personal characteristics such as identifying as religious or spiritual can predict low risk for addiction, but little is known about the intersection of neuroscience and religion in this regard. Yeah, so this is really interesting. Maybe I will make a separate video on that because I feel like phone addiction and stuff like that is really real, and we do have to do something against it because it is taking away a lot of our time on a daily basis. And with that, I will make the conclusion that friendships are important. You will not find friendships if you don't actively seek them most of the time. Sometimes you will find friendships in places where you didn't expect to find them, but in any way you have to get out of your house in order to find friendships. You have to get out there. You have to stop feeling sorry for yourself for not having any friends and being such a loner and being introverted. There is a person for you, and there are people who find you nice, and there will be people who will find you cool, and there will be people who will want to be around you. And these people will push you, and they will call you out, and they will do really funny things with you, and they will laugh with you, and they will cry with you, and you will be able to talk about really deep things with them, but also joke about the stupidest things with them. And if it goes really well, you will be able to do mundane things with them, and just the presence of that person will make that mundane thing the experience of the day or of the week or of the month. And if the friendships is really strong, then you will probably not have to talk all the time. You won't have to keep the conversation flowing all the time. And that way, your social battery won't be drained after an hour. You will actually be able to spend long quality time with each other without feeling exhausted afterwards. Instead, hopefully, you will feel fulfilled and having new ideas and new inspiration after that meeting with a friend. And with that, I hope you found the video helpful. I wished I got these tips a bit earlier. However, I am really happy that I got to make these experiences myself, and that I learned these things, and that I know for sure that they are true because I lived through them. Yeah, I hope that you, well, as I've already said, I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions concerning any other topics, honestly, I can make videos on different things. It honestly depends on whether it really concerns me. But if I have any experience or expertise in these domains, please feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you would like to hear next. And with that, I'm saying bye-bye, and I'm giving you a hug because hugs are really nice. Bye-bye.